I'm so happy. It was such an incredible experience. Getting to premiere the movie here is an absolute dream because Fantasia is such a great festival, but also because we shot the movie in Quebec and the room was packed with so many of our cast and our crew. And what a wonderful way to unleash the movie on the world. The Christmas season was really important to the themes of the movie and to the setup of the movie because the girls are stuck at their boarding school over Christmas. The movie is about chosen family in a way, and they can't be home with their actual families for their various reasons. And so they have to find family and find home in this school. And you also have the idea of the family unit of the gang and how that is a messed up dynamic, a twisted family dynamic with the gang. So thematically, it made a lot of sense for us to place this on Christmas. And then also we love Christmas horror. Black Christmas was a big influence. It was on our minds while we were making the movie. And that kind of ties into the idea of why it's set in the early 70s. As we were writing the film and we were thinking about all of our influences, we were really excited to bring together the home invasion genre, the demonic subgenre of horror, and supernatural mystery, and so we started thinking about the movies that were our influences, and Last House on the Left, The Exorcist, and Rosemary's Baby for the demonic subgenre. Don't Deliver Us from Evil, which is an awesome movie from 1971 about teen girls up to no good. So it started to feel very natural that this movie should be set in the early 70s. So it's an 8-person ensemble piece. We have our 2 teen girls who are stuck at their school over Christmas break. And that is Samantha, who's new to the school. She doesn't have many friends. She has a hard time getting to know people who have already been friends there for a long time. And Clara, who's also an outsider, like kind of the quiet girl in the corner. So these 2 outsiders are stuck at their school over Christmas break. And over the course of the movie, they get to know each other a little bit and form a friendship. Rose, played by Chloe Levine, is their teacher. And she is also stuck at the school in a way. She's in a relationship with the groundskeeper, Jimmy, played by Gus Kenworthy. And but you can kind of get the sense that she's uncomfortable with her circumstances too. And so we're playing with the idea of escape, feeling stuck and wanting to escape. And each of the characters is grappling with that in their own way. I like to have conversations with them early, so we start speaking the same language. I have like my own language with each of the actors about the characters. We talk about like their spines, like the character's spine. Who was she before the movie started? Who is she in the movie? Who will she be after the movie started? What does she want? What's driving her in life? Once we define those things, then that's really easy to keep coming back to. And then you start to think about objectives on a scene by scene basis. So you have your overall, who is this character? What do they want in life? And then in the scene, what do they want? What do they think is going to happen? How are they trying to achieve it? Well, I worked with cinematographer Alexander Bussière, and he's from Montreal, and it was really lovely getting to work with him. And early on, we were talking about our cinematic influences and what we wanted the movie to feel like. And we wanted it to have, it's set in the early 70s, so we wanted to embrace the period, but also have a timeless quality to it and a classic quality to it and a dreamlike fairy tale quality to it The shots were really like, what's the emotion of the scene? What's the emotion that we're trying to create? And when we're with the gang in the beginning of the film, we get little snippets where we're with the gang. I wanted those scenes to have a lot of energy, have a lot of movement, use Steadicam for that movement, feel like we're just in the middle of their chaos. And then when we're with the girls at the school at first, we're having slower creeping dolly shots through the school, you know, really feeling the atmosphere of that setting. We're taking a much more slow approach. And then when the gang comes to the school, we bring their like anarchic energy into the school, and then we're, you know, bringing Steadicam into the school, and then over the course of the movie, as we start to get to know our characters more, we're getting a lot of like close-ups, like super intimate close-ups on them where they're taking up the screen. We shot 2-3-5 because it is an 8-person ensemble piece, and I knew I wanted a lot of tableaus. I wanted a lot of shots where you see all of our characters in them. That was the motivation for that. And we also used vintage anamorphic lenses. We shot on the Sony Venice. And yeah, the ultimate goal was having a fairy tale storybook quality as well. Getting to work with great collaborators in every stage of the process, and you're finding the film at that stage of the process. So for the edit, worked with 2 incredible editors, Arthur Tarnowski and Matir Berube. And so we got it to picture lock, and we felt this is it in picture lock while keeping in mind all the things we wanted to do in sound design and music. And you keep writing the movie as you're making it, and every phase of the process is another chance to look at the movie as a whole and think about how you're going to use that next tool to continue writing the movie and leaning into the themes, leaning into the nuances and the tonal balance. And so I feel that the picture lock, you know, you're only 50% there. The picture lock is kind of just starting, because then you get to explore the movie through sound design and through the score, through your needle drops and through color. And at every stage, the movie is coming more and more alive. I started off producing for a company called Glass Eye Pix. Was really inspired by their bootstrap approach to filmmaking, just like getting it done. And they kind of just threw me into making movies. And I got to learn from Larry Fessenden, a director and producer and writer, and Peter Polk, a producer, all about their approach. And it was really helpful for me to get to learn how a movie comes together, everything that a producer does to support the director's vision, and to get to watch different like I produced 6 features, and I got to watch and work very closely with each of these directors, learn about their directing style. And this was my film school. So I super grateful to those experiences. And I think, you know, producing is an art form in itself. I fell in love with the location. I fell in love with Oka Abbey, which is located about 30 minutes outside of Montreal. It's an old monastery. And my producers, Phil Kalin and Albert Malamed, who are from Quebec, know Quebec, they brought me to Oka Abbey on a location scout, and I just fell in love with it. It had that timeless quality. It felt like very European. It felt very fairy tale, and has a little bit of a castle quality to it. So really, I fell in love with that location, and then we spent a month there. We shot the movie over the course of 20 days. We just got to live in that location for the month and explore it and make the most of all of it. When you're with the gang, you're in this world of color and chaos. But when you're with the girls, you're in this very pristine dollhouse at first. And then over the course of the movie, you start to feel, especially when the gang comes and then, you know, dark things happen. I wanted it to feel like you're moving from this pristine darkness into hell. You're descending into hell. So for me, what that meant was our fireplace and the candles in the room at the end. Oka Abbey's incredible. It's an incredible place, but they didn't have a fireplace. Our awesome art team built the fireplace, and then we had our FX team, the Blood Brothers, handling the fire, creating the fire, and they were able to create our emotional descent into hell. When I was preteen, I moved neighborhoods, and I went to a new school and didn't have any friends, and I started watching horror movies, and horror movies like became my friend, and that's where my deep love of horror movies started. And over the course of my adolescence, I started to wonder, well, how are these movies being made? And I started to become really interested in it. I started reading screenwriting. I learned screenwriting was a thing, and there were screenwriting books, and you could learn how to write a screenplay. So I was like 15 years old buying like the story and other screenwriting books and reading them and trying to understand that. It's just been something I've always been interested in, and such a gift to get to explore filmmaking as an adult. Loneliness was the word I was using for Sacrifice Game. When I was in prep for this movie, I would say to our cast and say to our crew, like, if I had to sum up this movie in one word, it's about loneliness. Because each character is grappling with loneliness in their own way. Even the gang members, which at first seem like a unit, each of them is carrying deep loneliness, and each one is trying to accommodate that, and also some characters trying to overcompensate for their deep loneliness. And that doesn't only mean loneliness in the physical sense, but also like, are we alone? Is there something out there, in the soul sense? And I think they're all obsessing about that a little bit. And then, yeah, certainly in The Ranger, that's something that we explore with loneliness and connection. So you have the loneliness, and then you also have the connection in both of the films. And how do we play with that idea of connection? In The Ranger, we play with that between Chelsea and the Ranger and their relationship, and how that kind of, how that goes wrong in those ways. And I don't know, I think it all goes back to being a lonely teenager and watching horror movies. I think that's where it stems from.